What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we'll be continuing on Who Was Elvis Presley? So we're going to start part 3 and then I'm going to finish this tomorrow after school. So here we go. We've left off on page 57, so let's start. And page 58. But there's no number there in any page. But that's okay. It's designed like that in the chapter book of bobbleheads. And I love bobbleheads, by the way, so here we go. Graceland. Even though his mother had died, Elvis kept the house, which sat on 14 acres of land in Memphis. 3 acres of land in Memphis. There were white columns outside, a marble fireplace in the front hall, and 8 bathrooms. The house looked just the way Elvis wanted. The jungle room had jungle flowers and plants, bamboo walls, and wild animal prints on the furniture. Grace also had a quiet ball court, a room for Elvis's gold records and awards, and a garage full of antique cars. He even kept 2 planes on the property, one of them named after his daughter, Lisa Mary. In 1967, Brucey Springsteen wanted to meet Elvis so much he climbed the walls at Graceland. Guards caught him and sent him away. Elvis wasn't home. Today, nobody in the Presley family lives there, but the house is open for tours. My eyes are itching. Chapter 7, Priscilla. Private Presley was sent to an army base in Friedberg, Germany on October 1st, 1958. Elvis thought he would never be happy again. His mother was gone, and he was thousands of miles from home. Meanwhile, Colonel Parker had other worries. What would being in the army do to Elvis Presley's career? What would being in the army do to Elvis Presley's career? The United States was not at war, so Elvis never fought in any battles. Army bases near enemy countries, such as the USSR, were there in case of war. In Germany, Elvis drove a jeep for a sergeant. He and a friend were also in charge of a talent show. Elvis played piano, so Elvis wasn't treated like just any soldier who had to sleep on a bunk bed in their barracks. Elvis rented rooms at a local hotel. His grandfather flew over for a visit. Elvis invited 2 friends from Memphis too. During the day, Elvis had to work, but at night he and his 2 buddies loved to goof around. They ran through the hotel shooting squirt guns. One time a prank went too far. They set a small fire by mistake, and the hotel manager kicked them out. After that, Elvis rented a house. Elvis started to get by on less and less sleep. The only time for fun was at night, but he needed to be awake during the day. Another soldier gave Elvis pills to help him stay awake. The pills worked, so he began to take more. In those days, nobody really understood the danger of such pills. Once people started making them, they couldn't stop. After his father and friends returned to Memphis, Elvis was lonelier than ever. But then Elvis met Priscilla Beaulieu. She was an American girl who was 14 and a half years old. Elvis was 24. Priscilla's stepfather was a captain in the Air Force. He said she was too young to go on a date. But Elvis went to visit Priscilla's stepfather. He promised to remain just friends with Priscilla. He would wait until she was older before starting a romance. For the first time, he thought he was in love. In the March of 1960, the Army sent Elvis home. He had served for more than a year. At the airport, Priscilla said goodbye for now. She worried that they'd never see each other again, but Elvis loved her. He told her so in all his letters to her. Elvis Presley, Graceland, Tennessee, USA. Priscilla Beaulieu, Freiburg, Germany. Now that Elvis was back in the United States, Colonel Parker focused on his career again. Elvis was going to be bigger than ever. The famous singer Frank Sinatra hosted a television program to welcome Elvis home. That was on March 26, 1960. Elvis sang 2 songs. Girls in the audience screamed throughout his performance. The king was back. Chapter 8. Elvis flops. Elvis started making the same silly movies again, starting with the G.I. Blue, though he longed to make a great film. He played a singing lifeguard in Fun in Acapulco, a singing race car driver in Spin Out, and a singing doctor who falls in love with a nun in Change of Habit. Still, people kept buying tickets for Elvis Presley movie. The songs in the movies were good. There was Can't Help Falling in Love in a 1961 movie called Blue Hawaii. It remains a classic love ballad. The next year he had another hit with Return to Sender from the Girls. Girls, girls. In real life, the only girl in his life was Priscilla. She and Elvis were reunited when she left Germany and came back to the United States. They got married. The couple was married on May 1st, 1967, at the Aladdin Hotel in Las Vegas. Less than a year later, on February 1st, 1968, their daughter Lisa Marie was born. But the happy times didn't last. Colonel Parker was working Elvis too hard with an overloaded schedule. Elvis never had time for acting lessons. Sometimes he didn't start learning his lines until he was in the car driving to the movie set. His movie schedule also prevented him from recording new music. There wasn't time to spend recording in a studio, and young people's tastes were changing. It was the 1960s. People were listening to Bob Dylan, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones. Folk singers were protesting the Vietnam War and racism. Then there was Elvis. He sang Old MacDonald Had a Farm in a terrible movie called Double Trouble. He seemed to belong to the past, which is like acting like a toddler, which isn't okay. Elvis's biggest fear was coming true. He was only 32 and no longer popular, not the way he had been before. People didn't take him seriously. Elvis felt trapped and jealous when the Beatles came to his house to meet him. At first, Elvis barely looked up at the younger musicians. He pretended to keep watching TV. In the end, they did jam together on a couple of songs. Elvis grew more and more depressed. All the work made it hard for him to get much rest. Once again, Elvis got in the habit of taking pills to stay awake. Then when he needed rest, he took other pills to go to sleep. Elvis started staying up all night and then sleeping through the days. All the drugs made him puffy, and he started to gain weight. Worst of all, he and Priscilla, the wife he loved so much, started to argue a lot. Why, arguing isn't so nice after all, is it? He needed something to inspire him. He needed a goal. He needed to make a comeback. And we'll continue on with the story tomorrow when I come back from school. Anyways, good night.